Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, this dream season for New York Yankee fans is slowly turning into a nightmare, highlighted by a brutal 2-7 road trip that the Yankees took in early August. We'll kind of go over those series and kind of do an overall examination. What happened to this team? Why they're failing? Why are they losing these games? And then can they rectify themselves before the end of the season? But before we do, if you haven't done it already, kind of mentioned before in some previous episodes, wherever you get your favorite podcast, there's an audio version of the show available. So wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify, or Radio, Apple Podcasts, go look up Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. You'll see the icon, you see the logo. Click on it, follow it, get updated, get frequent content, and it's only exclusive for you podcast subscribers. So I know you like to see me visually. I know that's the most ideal thing, but you can hear me more often throughout the week. And again, get more frequent content, and it's exclusive. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for me, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, and get notified when new content goes up. So in the previous episode, we kind of mentioned all the trade moves that the Yankees did with Brian Cashman. Of course, just quickly going over them. They brought in Benintendi, brought in Frankie Montas, which also included Lou Trivino for the bullpen there. Of course, shipped out Joey Gallo, and as well as included right-hand reliever Scott Efros, as well as traded Jordan Montgomery. A little bit of a surprising move. That was probably the most controversial one. For Harrison Bader, again, the center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, who again is currently in a boot and not serviceable for the Yankees right now. So those are the moves. And again, the Yankees, it's no secret, since the All-Star break, they have been scuffling a little bit. But you figure, all right, you know what? They were off to this unbelievable start. They were going to kind of scuff a little bit. At some point, you figure, all right, they're going to have to come down to earth a little bit, lose a few games. But you figure, all right, with the acquisition they made at the trade deadline, it will kind of energize the team a little bit, and it would take off a little bit, especially bringing someone like Benintendi in, who's a kind of high percentage, high bat average type of guy, which was like the exact opposite of Gallo, who's like under 200. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like really this has taken off for the Yankees yet. In fact, it is kind of same as they were before, just kind of struggling to score runs a little bit. So I don't know if it's a personnel issue, if it's just this part of the season, the dog days of August. But you got to look at the facts here that the Yankees right now are struggling mightily, and really it's. And you could point to a couple of things, but they're just not really scoring enough runs, and losing games. And a lot of the games are just very close. They're not being blown out. They're just not scratching enough runs across, and they're always kind of relying on the bullpen. You got all these tight games, and you can't live that way every night, every game, just with the pressure like that, and on any pitching staff, but especially in the situation the Yankees got now, which we'll get into how Clay Holmes has been struggling now. Who again, he's been unbelievable for most of the season up to this point. Had a couple of yips here and there, but at the point right now where you just can't trust him in there. And then we'll get back to this toward the end of the episode. What can the Yankees do if Clay Holmes continues to struggle in the ninth inning? But they started this road trip in St. Louis in a good classic matchup of two classic MLB teams, the St. Louis Cardinals with their rich tradition and the New York Yankees with their rich tradition. Franchises with both have a lot of world championships to their name. Of course, the Yankees a little bit more there, but still Cardinals, nothing to scoff at there. Now, a cool story going into this series was going to be the return of Matt Carpenter, of course, played 12 seasons for those Cardinals, won a championship with them, 3-time All-Star, fan favorite. And if you just look where he was this season, he started off in the minor leagues, Texas minor league system, ended up opting out of there, getting signed by the New York Yankees, and just happens that the Yankees are visiting St. Louis this season for interleague play. So it's just a cool moment for him and an opportunity for him to return there. And again, I guess the only maybe little bright spot of this 3-game series was the return of Mike Carpenter, and this is the way the fans treated him. He got a little choked up before the series even started, and all 3 games, his first at bat, got standing ovations and got applauded. Again, even though he's wearing the Yankee road gray, got applauded the whole way, and it was just a good moment for him just to return there. Unfortunately for the Yankees, this series was really a nightmare. And it started off with the first game where the Yankees had a 3-1 lead early on in the game, but would end up blowing it. Would be up 3-2 ultimately towards the end in the 8th inning there, and then Clay Holmes had 2 runners on. Now it was kind of a weird situation because there was 2 outs there. So with 2 outs, runners are going on contact. Fortunately, got taken deep to right field, gave up a double, and then turned a 3-2 Yankee lead into a 4-3 Yankee deficit, and that would end up your final score there. So again, Holmes. Again, bored out a little early than normal, so I don't want to say that's the situation there, but Boone had to go to him much earlier in the game. And again, you get to see this, going back to the injury of losing Michael King, how that kind of filtered down and it affects everyone. I know, yes, the Yankees brought in Scott Efros. Yes, they brought in Lou Trivino, and those are pretty good moves. But again, just the loss of Michael King, where if this was maybe 2 months ago, King would be there in the 8th, and then Holmes would probably have a clean 9th, and we're not even talking about a loss. But unfortunately, that King injury is really proven to be big there for the Yankees. So Yankees dropped the first game. Now, the second game was interesting. It was a Saturday night game. because it was the Yankees facing Jordan Montgomery, who they just traded. So interesting enough, the Yankees trade with the Royals to get Anna Benintendi, and Benintendi's first game is against his former team, the Royals. The Yankees trade Jordan Montgomery, and his first start is against his former team, the Yankees. It's funny how it worked out there. And you got to say in this one, Jordan got his revenge. I mean, this was a game that was, only one run was scratched across. So, it wasn't like the Yankee pitching was the problem here. But again, the main theme here is that the Yankee offense is really the issue here, and they was shut down in this game. Jordan Montgomery went 5 shutout innings against the Yankees. He could have went out longer, had some cramps there, so they actually ended up taking him out. But the Cardinal bullpen was able to throw blanks on the board the rest of the way, and the Yankees dropped the game 1-0. Domingo Germán started the game. I guess the only bright spot you would say, and you've seen it so far with Germán, every start he's been getting better and better and better. But again, this game only gives up the 1 run, but that one run is too much, and the Yankees lose the game 1-0, and just very frustrating, just the way they couldn't even score 1 run. Got only had 2 hits in the game, so again, just a pitiful performance for the Yankees. And again, interesting because again, if you look at it, really Germán's the one who took Montgomery's spot in the lineup. When they brought in Frankie Montas, one of them had to go, and I guess they decided to let go of Montgomery. But I guess he gets the last laugh in that game. And then Cardinals officially take the series and now going for the sweep in the third game. And in the third game would be the Yankee debut of Frankie Montas. Now, a little backstory there. I wasn't expecting much from him. You couldn't expect from much. He just got traded. And, of course, he missed a little extra time with bereavements. Apparently, his mother-in-law passed away, so he had to be away from the team for a while. So he's not on his usual throw schedule. It's a brand-new team, and a ballpark he's not too familiar with. Again, he's from the Oakland A's. He probably hasn't pitched too many times in Busch Stadium. And he got rocked early on, only able to give the Yankees 3 innings, but he got beat up. Now, this was an interesting game. The Yankees did fight back a few times. At one point, did tie it 6-6 in the middle of the game, but it was kind of frustrating because they had bases loaded like 3 different occasions and never really cashed in for a huge inning on that one. The Yankees ultimately would fall behind in the game, and then in the 8th inning, the new Yankee, Scott Efros, ended up giving a 3-run home run, which pretty much put it away at that point, 12-8. All right, DJ would add a home run for the Yankees in the top of the 9th, make it 12-9, but that was the story, and the Yankees were swept in the series, again, in miserable fashion. Again, if you look at all the games, really this is that first one, is they probably had their best opportunity. Again, they were up 3-1 pretty late in the game, and even up 3-2 with Holmes coming in. You still feel you should win that game, but they blow that lead there. Of course, the second game is a complete goose egg, and now kind of have a bit of a slugfest in that third game. But again, the Yankee bullpen isn't able to hold down the Cardinals, and the Yankees are now swept. And then from there, had a team meeting afterwards with Boone, supposed to rectify the situation. I guess they add some things out, but unfortunately didn't help as they moved on next series after that to Seattle. So the Yankees packed their bag, the middle of the country, St. Louis, go all the way out to the Great West, Seattle, Washington, to play the Seattle Mariners. Now remember, last time Seattle came here, they took it to the Yankees, took 2 out of 3, especially beating up Cole in that final game. Now Seattle's an up-and-coming team. They made the big move, of course, getting Luis Castillo, and they're, of course, making a push possibly for one of those wild card spots. And again, they're a very good defensive team, as we all know that. And they're playing without the best player, Rodriguez, still. The Yankees weren't able to take advantage of that at home, and weren't able to take advantage of that while they were visiting the Mariners. Now, the only little bright spot of this series was the first game. The Yankees did win 9-4, but little did come out of course in the top of the first inning. Matt Carpenter fouled the ball off his foot, and at first he didn't think much of it, finished out the at-bat, but then ended up limping off, and then it turns out that he had a hairline fracture on his foot. So now he's going to be shut down. He got to go in a boot right away. At least they're talking about 6 to 8 weeks, and now you're looking at him until middle to late September. So kind of heartbreaking for him. Just had that great return to St. Louis, and now having this magical season for the Yankees. You would say maybe possibly be a comeback player of the year, maybe possibly, but now going to miss a chunk of time. Where when he comes back. They didn't need surgery, so that's the good news. But, you still have a hairline fracture in your foot. So big blow for the Yankees. And, again, hopefully he comes back, but that's not even a guarantee. And if he does come back, he's pretty much probably relegated to just a left-handed DH. Man, I don't think he could play him in the field much, especially, just with a hairline fracture in the foot. But on with the game. Again, the good news there would just be the Yankees took the first one. Got a strong start from Tyone finally. Again, he'd been scuttering a little bit for a while there, so at least you got something good to take away there. The rest of the series for the Yankees was quite miserable. Second one was the part 2 of Garrett Cole versus Luis Castillo. Again, Castillo got the best of Cole first time when they were at Yankee Stadium. This time at least, both starters held up, so it was a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel. Cole went 7 innings, 0 runs. Castillo went 1 more inning, 8 innings, 0 runs. But this one went into the 13th inning. But the annoying part that the Yankees had a couple opportunities early on in this game, well, at least towards the early extra innings with the ghost runners, to take a lead finally, but he had base running blunder by IKF, a big base running blunder by Benintendi. Yankees would have had first and second on. Instead, he broke for third base for whatever reason, and Suet was able to nail him at third base there. So kind of the Yankees ran themselves out of a few opportunities, and then finally Seattle would, in the bottom of the 13th inning, push across the winning run, and the Yankees lose 1-0. So yet again, losing another 1-0 game again, where they just don't score 1 run. And again, it's kind of the theme of this entire road trip, which then brought the Yankees to the final game there. And this was another frustrating one because you got Nestor Cortez throwing a perfect game across 5 innings. Finally gives up the solo home run for his first hit in the run of the game. The Yankees were down at that point, 1-0. But his battery mate, Higgy, got him a 2-run home run, put him up 2-1, and then very shortly after, Judge hits a blast, hits a solo home run, put the Yankees up 3-1. But unfortunately, the Yankee bullpen, mainly also, main person here, I guess the guilty part here was Albert Abreu, who the Yankees have put in some high leverage situations lately, and he has not been coming through. They kind of brought him back this season, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem the Abreu that we saw last year. And again, just another result of not having Michael King in there, where you're putting these guys in there and they're just not as good as what King would get. And obviously, part of the reason then the Yankees ended up blowing this lead, end up falling behind 4-3, and that would be your final score. And so Seattle again takes 2 out of 3s from the Yankees yet again. So Yankees 2-4 against the Yankees this season. And finally they figure, all right, now we have to go all the way across country to Fenway Park against a team that's 4 games under 500. Figure, all right, you know what? This has been a miserable road trip, but maybe at least we could, get some easy wins against a team that's pretty much at this point packing their bags. I mean, Chris Sale fell off his bike, needed wrist surgery. He's done for the year. They traded their catcher, Christian Vasquez. So it just seems like they're kind of making their off-season plans already, probably working on the summer house in the DR and stuff like that. What would this team have to play for? So the Yankees go there, and unfortunately, the Yankees also get embarrassed in Fenway. So it's on to Fenway for the Yankees. I remember the last time the Yankees went to Fenway Park, it was not a good experience for them, as well as Clay Holmes. Now they would have a chance to redeem themselves. Really didn't. Now the first game was Domingo Germán making, again, another start for the Yankees. Only good news there was a little bit stronger against an old nemesis, an old friend, the former Yankee Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, the Yankees have seen Eovaldi so many times, you would think they would have his number. Not really. Now, they did get on the board early against him. Anthony Rizzo in the first inning would hit an RBI double to score Judge. And then in the third, Judge himself would hit a solo home run, putting the Yankees up 2-0 at that point. Now, Boston would cut that in half in the 4th inning, thanks to J.D. Martinez, RBI single. But still, the Yankees were in control of this game. But you still feel they would need some more runs because we've just seen it too many times. It's just, it's so easy to score in that ballpark. It almost feels like you want it to be up like 4-1, 5-1, really. Now, Domingo Germán, he did his part. Gave the Yankees 6 strong innings, only gave up the 1 run, and everything was going almost well for the Yankees. You got a strong inning from Aroldis Chapman, who's really getting comfortable now in that 7th inning role there. You got a clean inning from Scott Efros, and this all came down to the 9th inning with Clay Holmes on the mound. But even when you said scored 2-1, this is the way he's been struggling a little bit, you still don't feel comfortable. You knew something bad was going to happen. Now, the first batter there, Rafael Devers, probably the most dangerous hitter. He got him out, so you figure, all right, good, rolling here. But then, unfortunately, gives up back-to-back walks by Xander Bogaerts, as well as to Alex Verdugo. And Verdugo is the guy who really killed Holmes last time Holmes was in Fenway. And really, I think Boone there made a bit of a mistake. I mean, you could just tell Holmes was losing it, especially, his first slide he tried to throw was like way off the ground. I don't even know how Trevino caught that. He was able to pick it out of the dirt. But you could see that Clay Holmes is just ready just to let this one go. I think Boone should have came out and got him right there, but I guess he gave him an opportunity just because, look, he is an all-star, so you almost got to give him the chance to fail. Well, he failed. Ends up giving me an RBI single to J.D. Martinez. Ties the game up at that point, but now you have runners on first and third with only 1 out. Boone then finally decides to take the hook there. Again, 1 batter too late. Wandy Peralta comes in, now strikes out Eric Hosmer, the lefty, so a big pressure situation, and is able to get Arroyo to line out. So first and third, he gets out of a big pressure jam there, but now the Yankees are tied. The game is tied 2-2 going to extra innings. And again, just the way the Yankees have been playing lately, especially in extra inning games, especially on the road, you don't feel comfortable that they're going to be able to pull ahead, and they don't. In the bottom of the 10th inning, Arroyo, the ghost runner, ends up scoring on an RBI hit by Tommy Pham, and Boston has yet another walk-off win against the New York Yankees in their ballpark, and the Yankees dropped his first one. 3-2. Again, another close game, but again, you got to blame the offense, only scoring 2 runs against a team that's 4 games under 500, and again, against Nathan Eovaldi, a starter who they've seen a million times, but again, only able to scratch those 2 runs. So that brings the Yankees to the second game, which was probably, I guess, at the end, you could see the emotional release from them for the Yankees. Now, this was going to be Montas's second start, and as you expect, he was much better this time around. Again, a little more acclimated as an Oakland American League pitcher, familiar with the mound in Fenway Park, and was good for this game for the most part. Ran into a little situation in the 4th inning. He ended up hitting a play with the bases loaded that scored the Boston's first run. Then he also gave up a sacrifice fly, but he would eventually get out of the jam. The Yankees only down 2-0. But this game will be called the IKF game. This was the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa game, if you'll ever remember a game, had the game of his life. As we know, the entire season been waiting for his first home run. Well, it comes in an opportune time in the top of the 5th. The Yankees down 2-0. Hit the clutch, huge 2-run home run. Probably at this point of the season, you're thinking probably the most important home run for the Yankees, just the way they've been struggling. Ties the game at that point 2-2. Now later in the game, in the top of the 9th, now he hit the home run early. He plays a little bit small ball, so we have Benintendi, who led off the inning with a double. He was moved over by Trevino. He's on third base, so IKF, instead of trying to go for the long ball or trying to get a single, actually chokes up the play with the bat, hits an infield bunt for a hit, scores Benintendi easily. No one was really coming first base in time because they weren't expecting it, and IKF then was responsible for the 3rd run. So IKF was responsible for all 3 runs in this game. Now, in the bottom of the 9th, they got a little dicey there. Scott Efros was in a situation where he had 2 outs and runners on 2nd and 3rd, where if he gave up a single, again, the Yankees would end up losing 4-3, and this is the way everything was going to go, and you would almost think that was going to happen. But again, Xander Bogaerts, a very good hitter. Efros was able to get him to pop up in the infield there, and the Yankees able to just get that win in that game. And you could see all the players on the field just breathe a sigh of relief, almost act like they won a playoff game, just the way they were just, the game before, you almost felt like it was like, even though there's probably been worse losses, that felt like this is the worst loss of the year, just because the way they've been struggling lately, and you have that 2-1 lead, and you blow a lead in the 9th there. That probably felt terrible. So to win that second game, you could see the relief from them, from everybody. And you've got to give kudos, like I mentioned before, Chapman also pitched a dominant inning. Also in the second game, so you had 2 strong innings by Chapman on the mound at Fenway Park, which you almost never see. We just remember so many times him struggling on the mound on Fenway with sweat dripping off the bill of the cap and sweat dripping off his face and his arms, stuff like that. But actually 2 nights in a row dominant. So maybe start examining, all right, do you give him back the closer role? But we'll get to that conversation next. Brings us then to the 3rd game, the finale there, where maybe the Yankees say, look, this has been a miserable road trip, but maybe we could take this 3rd game, at least take the series, maybe end on a happy note before we go back to New York. But no, that would not be the case now. So on the mound for the Yankees was Jameson Taillon. Now, he pitched a good game. You really can't blame him for this one. This was just more, again, the Yankee offenses being absolutely ugly against Michael Wacha. And this Michael Wacha hadn't pitched since late June. So like almost over a month, this guy hasn't pitched. Makes his first start against the New York Yankees, and he absolutely blanks the Yankees for 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, only gives up 2 hits. And for Taillon, he gave up 1 run early on, but his really undoing was a 2-run home run by Rafael Devers there in the 6th inning, put the Yankees behind 3-0. And again, it wasn't a bad pitch by Taillon. It was kind of up and in at like 96 miles per hour, but Devers was able to get around on it and take him deep to right field. Again, the Yankees were down 3-0, and really the Yankees had nothing this entire game. The only shot they had really bit, they put a little rally together in the top of the 5th inning. They had 2 runners on, but Higgy hit a line drive to third base, and Devers, who hit the home run later on, made a great stopping play, threw out Higgy at first, and that was really the only time the Yankees put something together. Other than that, the Yankees were absolutely blanked, and again, against a guy making his first start in over a month. So this is really rock bottom for the Yankee offense. Again, you can look at the Clay Holmes situation and the little things in the base running gaffes and stuff like that, and a number of injuries, including Carpenter, including Stanton, and including DJ, which we'll get into it afterwards. But this Yankee offense has gone completely anemic, and it just seems like it really had nothing to do with Joey Gallo, which you kind of knew that. Benintendi's giving you nothing, and there's a lot of guys that have been giving you a good season, like Gleyber Torres has gone quiet. Of course, Hicks has been quiet pretty much the whole season. Even Trevino, again, all-star catcher, been quiet, and just have a lot of guys just not hitting. Judge gets the occasional home run right there, here and there, but overall, this offense is in real bad shape. So now you got to look at what's going on overall this team, and can they rectify themselves and get themselves back into the winning ways to make a playoff push. So the offense has as well, as we'll get into that, but specifically something that the Yankees, an immediate specific need has been the 9th inning, where this Clay Holmes, for some reason, just doesn't have the control he had early this entire season. Again, gave up 1 earned run at opening day, and then pretty much almost till a little after the All-Star break, does not give up another run. So he was phenomenal for the Yankees for the most part. So I'm not saying at the point where you take the ninth inning closer role away from him, because again, he did so much at the first part of the season, but clearly in just such a short amount of time, he's just completely fallen off track, does not have a feel for his pitches. And again, if this Holmes, lately just not reliable in there. So what can the Yankees do? Well, I don't know if they can do too much right now, because they just don't have an answer for the ninth inning. I mean, again, right now you're not trusting Holmes that much. And Chapman, again, he's been better lately in that kind of that seventh inning role. But it's like, do you want to move him back again? He seems like he's gotten adapted to that seventh inning role. And as I mentioned before, pitches are creatures of habit and so forth. So now you move in the ninth, the whole routine. Is that going to get into his head, or is he just a veteran pitcher and can just say, look, I'm throwing well and I can throw well in the ninth inning? So I think if Holmes has maybe one or two more clunkers, you might see them put Chapman back in there, because that's really the only viable option right now. I know they got Lou Trevino, who was a closer for the A's, but I mean, he was almost pitching up to a 6 ERA this season. I know he's in a new team now. The Yankees think maybe with Matt Blake and some other coaches, they could rectify him a little bit, make him throw better. But I don't think there's a point where you still feel comfortable him as your closer. And of course, in the Boston series, the second game, they tried Scott Efros there, and okay, yeah, he came through there, and he's a decent arm, but he's someone you brought in there, especially with his sidewinding, sweeping right-handed pitcher. He's someone that's supposed to get out a big righty in a big jam. Like you have a righty up with bases loaded in the seventh inning, you bring him in to get the strikeout. He's not the type of guy, just with his stuff and the way he throws, that you want closing games. So I don't think that's the option there. And then, of course, then down the road, as I mentioned before, I mentioned this in terms of middle relief, you could possibly look at bringing when Severino is back sometime September, hopefully. Do you consider him for the ninth inning, where it's like, all right, he only has one inning and he could throw 100 miles per hour? Well, he doesn't have to, conserve himself for 5-6 innings. If he's pitching one inning, just have him there and his rear back and throw triple digits. You could look at that possibly. I just don't think I see that at this point. Again, I think they'd rather him come back and be a starter for them. Again, that's probably where he might serve well for the Yankees. So right now, I just think you kind of have to stick with Holmes and just hopes he just turns it around and gets a feel for his pitches a little bit. Again, he's never really done this before. And again, last year was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and now you're in the New York Yankees as a closer on a team that had the best record in baseball at one point. It's a little kind of pressure there. So I say stick with him. If he does continue to falter, then I guess really the next man up you would say has to be Chapman, because again, he has the track record. He's probably thrown the best of all the Yankee bullpen arms right now, you would say, overall. And I know Rob Marinaccio is up and down a little bit. And again, been having a great season for the Yankees, but I just don't think experience-wise you just want to put him in that ninth inning, because what if he falters as well? I mean, we see how fast Clay Holmes, who was untouchable, faltered. What if the same happens to Marinaccio? There's something he's not used to doing, so I don't like that. I don't mind having Marinaccio up early. Maybe I'll consider him for the seventh inning or eighth inning, yeah, but I don't like him closing the games. I'd rather just stick with Holmes there and just hopefully he turns it around. Or if you have to make the move, I would make the move with Chapman, just because he has the experience there. But again, the overall problem for the Yankees right now specifically, there's just nobody in that ninth inning that you can trust. But the bigger issue and the kind of the theme of this whole episode has just been the offense. I mean, that's just really been the main problem. I know blowing games and stuff like that is annoying, but again, if they could be scoring more runs, you wouldn't even have to worry about Clay Holmes or whoever being perfect in the eighth and ninth inning. Maybe you could afford to give up a home run or give up a run or two there and not kill you. The offense is completely just gone to bed. You can see a couple of, obviously you have a few injuries. Of course, they lost Matt Carpenter. You're hoping to get him back by late September. You lose Stanton with the Achilles injury. There's no exact timetable, and kind of his most recent interview, he mentioned with that yet, even though when he moves around during the day, it's fine, but when he still wakes up in the morning, he still kind of feels it when he's stiff there. So this is a situation where, yeah, he's going to come back a little bit, but he's going to probably be not be 100%. So you kind of, the idea that he's going to come back and be hot and carry the Yankees and the rest of the team get hot looks like we're just going to get it like maybe 90 or 95% of Stanton. And of course, he's just going to have to be a DH. You can't play him in the field. I know the Yankees played in the field a lot this season, and he's been good. But again, just dealing with that injury, he's pretty much now relegated to being a DH. And of course, I mentioned before, Harrison Beta, the center fielder we got from the Cardinals. Again, he's supposed to be one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. He himself expects to be back sometime in September. If he does, that's great, because again, Hicks is giving the Yankees nothing. I mean, if anything, at least Beta could give Yankees better defense than what Hicks could give in center field, and you could put Judge in right where he kind of belongs. And of course, you have Benintendi in left, and of course, Benintendi, as mentioned before, bringing him here just so far hasn't been paid off. And he hit a couple of doubles in Seattle, had a big double in the game the Yankees won in Fenway, but overall, you got to say it's been kind of a disappointment. He admits it himself. Now he has a track record of being a very good hitter, and he's an all-star, so you would hope he could turn around a little bit, but it'll be sooner better than later, because right now he's not helping out. And Andahar, who they brought up to replace Carpenter on the roster, okay, Andujar was chirping earlier this season that, hey, look, I shouldn't be sent down, and he kind of requested the trade. Well, look, now you got your opportunity. Go rake. Well, he hasn't been doing that as much as at all. So, all talk there, no action so far. So a lot to be desired with the Yankee offense. But I would say just some of the good news there is that even though the Yankees have been stumbling lately, none of the other teams in the AL East has really strongly taken advantage of it. And of course, you've seen a surge by the Orioles, who may be taking a shot with the wild card, even though they traded some big pieces like Mancini. I don't think they're really going to get that far. But the Toronto would be the team that would threaten the Yankees, you would think, the most. But again, they've been losing a lot of games. So for the most part, even though the Yankees have been struggling, it's been tough to watch, at least they've been able to maintain for pretty much a double-digit lead in the AL East. And I guess once the Yankees do get some of these pieces back, and again, you get a couple turns with the rotation by Montas, who again was better his second start. Again, he got a few more starts by the end of the year. And of course, Herman now, every start gets better and better and better. So you could look at that. Tyone's last 2 starts were good. So, whatever problems he had a little after the All-Star break, maybe he's getting that straightened out. And Cole, I know he had the yips, for a little bit while there. He was having some just games where in one inning he'll just give up like 4 or 5 runs for whatever reason. Seems like he's kind of put a lid on that a little bit. So overall, the Yankees pitching is good, and even with the bullpen problems, the Yankees are in all these games. So I guess that's the bright spot you take from it. But you got to look at the point that this team is not as good as it was a month ago. Is it still good enough that they could, get into the playoffs and make a good run here? Yeah, but you're just worried that, because again, a lot of pieces are hurt, and they got to do something to turn this offense around. Because yes, it's great that Judge is having an MVP season, but if no one else is hitting there, then even with the great pitching, it's going to be tough to win games. Now, a couple of Yankee players who have been in the lineup for the most part, but have been dealing with issues, as we know, Anthony Rizzo missed a chunk of the early on of this road trip, as mentioned, with a hurt back, and apparently he also had his back injury back in July, which has kept him out for 4 games, kind of keep it a hush-hush a little bit. But this is apparent here now. Doesn't seem like it's something that hinders him from playing, but now, as he's been having a great season for the Yankees, is it affecting him at the plate? And part of the reason why, again, the offense has been anemic, you could probably look at that as one of the reasons, as well as we just found out recently that DJ LeMahieu had a cortisone shot in his toe, and so he's been dealing with an injury, an issue. Now, before this road trip, he actually had been hitting pretty well and kind of getting the average back up to like 280, 290, what we used to for DJ LeMahieu. But lately, it's been bothering him. He actually needed to sit out that final game in Fenway Park. That's something like he would be out long term, but not only have the Yankees you're doing back, but you have a couple players in there right now who are, again, dealing with injuries, and you can just look at that as possibly and probably very likely why this offense has been struggling. But what really got Yankee fans panicking is not only the Houston Astros now have the best record in the American League, which means if the teams went head-to-head in the playoffs, most likely the majority of those games are going to be at Minute Maid Park, where the Yankees don't play well. But the bigger issue is that the New York Mets have actually leapfrogged the Yankees as the best team in New York. I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. They got a better record than the Yankees. Their offense is clicking. They got Scherzer back. They got their Grom back. They're all throwing well. And if you're a Yankee fan, who wants to play second fiddle to the Mets?